Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Blauvelt, and this is my initial post for our second discussion, the topic of freedom versus liberty and their differences in Western freedoms. When thinking about the differences between liberty and freedom, I'm brought to the Patrick Henry quote initially: give me liberty or give me death. By giving liberty, it makes me think about government and government protecting rights, protecting you from persecution or protecting you from any sort of tyranny. And then I started thinking about Jean Jacques Rousseau and John Locke and natural rights or natural freedoms that you're given just for being human. Augusto Zimmerman in Christianity and the Common Law, Rediscovering the Christian Roots of the English Legal System, claims that the American view of the Magna Carta leads to the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights, to me, is a liberty. It outlines all of the freedoms for the people who are citizens and the liberty that the government is going to protect those rights because you're an American citizen through law, through constitution, through doctrine. And the Bill of Rights might use the terminology freedom, but in looking at it, it's really not a freedom that anyone who's a human might have. You have to be an American citizen. You have to meet this stipulations. For example, you have to be 18 years old to vote. So it's not a freedom that you're born with. It's a liberty that is granted to you by the protection of our government. So it's through the US Constitution that people are given the opportunity to act in a just way with the protection and backing of the ideologies of the United States of America. So, for example, individuals may practice any religion as they please or not practice a religion. And this protection comes from the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights. That means that the government is giving you the opportunity to have that liberty. They will back you. It's like a social contract, which I'll get into later. In Zimmerman's document, he also argued that freedoms are natural and people are free to do as they please. But liberty is obtained by the government. And in the Magna Carta, the document identifies that there are freed men who are given liberties under the protection of the king and law. And according to Jonathan Scott in What Were Commonwealth Principles, a free government has to be legal and constitutional with a vision of liberty that doesn't come from the government, rather through the government and the protection of the government. Several Enlightenment philosophers developed varying social contracts that were ultimately providing people with a sense of liberty that is protected by the government. So, social contracts provided an agreement between the government and society, or between the government and the individual, depending on which philosopher you're looking at. But these innate rights or freedoms that you have just as being a human, the government agrees to give you liberty, to protect you, to do what they can to ensure that you maintain those freedoms and those natural rights that you were born with. Based on these philosophies, it's confirmed that the political, social, economic freedoms that citizens feel from the protection of government is in fact liberty. So liberty can be given to you, whereas your freedoms you always have that individual freedom. So in conclusion, freedom is a notion that people can obtain their rights by just being human. The term freedom can be used interchangeably with the term right. John Locke argued that all people are born with natural rights, and Jean Jacques Rousseau supported that all of humanity was born equal and with freedom. This makes me think of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was written in 1948, where they outlined 30 articles that are supposed to identify these rights that people, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you believe, what your background is, you always have these rights, and you do not need a government, whether it's a tyrannical government, whether it's a really good government. You don't have to have liberty to have these rights. So, liberty is awarded to people through the protection and issue of the government. And that's why Patrick Henry was begging for liberty from the tyrannical King George III, who was not a law abiding king. And according to Scott, liberty can only be obtained through knowledge of what is just and constitutional. So if your leader is not going to be following those laws, they are not upholding liberty and they are not giving you liberty. So this is my initial post, and I hope you all enjoyed, and I look forward to talking to all of you this week.